Another big weekend. As I've said, each time we win one of these games, it makes the next one even more important. We've got a really tough Arizona State team to deal with. They're big. They're the best three-point shooting team in the conference. High-powered all-star type guard, and then a rim protector. So we've got our work cut out for us. And then we have to go to Tucson after that, play a team that's ranked second in the country, and albeit missing one of their big pieces, is still going to be pretty potent. So with that, why not open it up for questions, and we can go from there.
Defensively against ASU, is it hard not to get focused on Carson with everything he does and everything else?
Yeah, it is hard not to just focus on Carson. Yeah, that's absolutely true. He's got the ball in his hand, it seems like all the time, but, 75, 80% of the time. So you do have to focus on him. And he's getting to be a very good outside shooter, which makes it even harder to guard him when he's going to the basket. So, we're just getting to the game plan stuff now, so I don't know what we're going to do. Last year, we tried to force him to take those long shots, and this year I don't think we can do that because he's making them.
Coach, I think there's 5 teams right now. We're 5-4 in the Pac-12. How big is this game just to kind of either the top of the conference?
It's big in a couple of ways. First of all, all these games are winnable. So, to get where you want to get to, you want to have as many wins as you can. But you also, as you mentioned, since there's such a log jam here, you want to get the guys who are close to you away from you as well. So that's at stake. And then thirdly, when you have a team, a team that's at the top of your league that has a devastating injury that might end up losing a couple of more games than you thought they lost, that brings the top closer to you. So you want to take advantage of that for opportunity of winning the league. So there's a lot riding on this, more than just sort of being in the middle tied with a bunch of guys.
You said that the UCLA game going into was the biggest game.
Biggest.
How do you compare Arizona State game to that?
So because of the position we've put ourselves in, that game is now the biggest game. And it sounds like I'm sort of just doing that tongue in cheek, but I'm not. And my guys understand that now. I think early on they didn't. They didn't realize that with each game you won, it made the next game more important or it made the next game harder. But this game's going to be really important because, as I mentioned before, I think it's winnable, and it's on the road. And if you can sneak a couple on the road here and there, that helps you. That helps you to get to where you want to be at the end of the season.
Over the years, you kind of talked about the process of learning how to win. And
yes.
After that, so what point are you guys in the process now after this past weekend?
Well, we're probably as far along as we've been because we've never been this relevant at the end of the season. I think you're looking at a team that really believes that it can win any game that they play, not just because I tell them that, because when a coach tells you that, you sometimes believe him, sometimes you don't. I think this team right now, when they step on the court, they think they're going to win the game. And that is where we are in the process. And then the next step in the process is winning all those games. You win every game you think you can win. So, we're right where we should be. We're right where we should be. There were a couple of games that I thought we could have won. If I'm looking at the midway point of the season for a report card, there were a couple of games I thought we could have won. There was a couple of games I thought we could have lost. So I'm happy with 5-4. I'd be happier if we were 6-3. But with half the season remaining, I like the mental and emotional aspect of this team.
What do you think this weekend will tell you about your teamwork?
Well, this will tell us a lot about how tough we are, because this is a tough trip. It's hard to win at both of these places. And when one of the teams is, right along with you, it's winnable, but you got to play tough and you have to play correctly to win. And then you got to go play a team that's ranked first or second, depending on who's asking or who's answering. But I think that game is winnable too.
It seems like general thought in the Pac-12 is win your home games, try to steal a few on the road. When you put together the Cal loss at home and the Washington State win on the road, it kind of washes itself out at this point. So is this kind of a contender-pretender type of weekend for you?
You know, I wouldn't say contender-pretender, you know, because they're road games. I mean, I would have said that at the beginning of last week. I mean, we're at home. We're playing a team that's below us and a team that's above us. If you can win both of those games, I would say you can be a contender. If we had overlooked USC and lost that game, then you're talking about being a pretender, especially if you lose both of those games. But if we had split them, I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to deal. I'm glad I don't have to think about it. But I think this weekend is more about toughness, and you're not necessarily out of it if you lose on the road and you can serve at home.
Is NCAA tournament something you guys actively talk about, or?
We talk about it as far as our objective from at the beginning of the season, and when we talk about our objectives. Once you know that's your objective, you don't have to talk about it. You just try and you try and do what you need to do to achieve it.
Coach, when you have a freshman like Alex, who's really coming on, he's very young, has a game like he had, do you coach him differently? Do your expectations rise to the level of the 20 points that he put out?
Yeah, well, yeah, John, yes and no. You know, you don't want to. You want to always raise the bar, no matter what year your players are. If they have success, you want to raise the bar, see if they can go up another notch. But just because he had 20 points, I don't want him to feel like he's got to get 20 points every night. So all I want him to do is take care of the ball, take good shots, help his teammates get some good shots, and play defense. If he does that, the quantitative results are less important. And then I think sort of emotionally and mentally, he's in a good place. So my way of coaching him is, hey, let's cut down on the turnovers. Let's look at the shot selection. Let's, you know, if you want to look at stuff that'll help him improve. I don't want to say, okay, now you've scored 20, you can get 20 anytime you want. That's putting a little too much pressure on him.
Do you ever have to slow guys down? They get a little ahead of themselves. Not cocky, but they think they can hit from anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, again, there are two guys who have carte blanche, and that's Roberto and Olaf right now. You know, even Hallis doesn't have carte blanche yet. So if guys are taking shots that they shouldn't take and aren't making them, it becomes pretty evident, because then they're sitting next to me rather than being out on the court.
You guys have given up some pretty big games to opposing point guards, and obviously with Carson on Thursday. Do you attribute that to anything? I mean, just facing good players, or are you focusing on other guys and maybe the point guards? Or
You know, you have a knack of asking questions in such a negative way, but I will answer it for you. We have had problems with point guards, but we also have had problems with big guys, and we've had good success against good point guards and good success against good post players. So it's hard to guard good players because guys on offense have the advantage. They know what they're going to do. On defense, you're at a disadvantage. What we have to do against guys who are so prolific like a Carson is limit him to what he wants to do. You know, what I think has been overlooked in the last game was what a great job Roberto Nelson did on their leading scorer, Jordan Adams. Didn't score a basket. He had 6 points. They were all foul shots. So we know how to stop guys. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Offensively, Angus and Devon are on a pretty good stretch where they're contributing on the offensive end. Do you need more from those guys, or is it just a situation where it is improved?
We need more from everybody, because I don't think we're at anywhere near our potential or reached our ceiling at all. I mean, you know, these games, what are we, 5-2 over the last 7? 5-2. I don't think we've played a superb game yet where everybody was on the top of their game. So we need everybody to step it up and try and get to that point of optimum production and optimum emotional intelligence and knowing where they have to be and playing for each other offensively, defensively, making foul shots. We haven't had a game like that. That's exciting for me because I know it's in us. We just haven't brought it out yet, and yet we're still able to win some of these games without everybody hitting the right note.
And with Devon, is he back to doing what you're looking for him to do, both on the playing floor and away?
I think so. I think, and it's he's embraced getting into the gym more. He's embraced working on his game, and he's also embraced coming into the game not being a starter but finishing the game in certain situations. You know, I really feel like these guys are I think more is made. I won't say you guys, but more is made of the starting and not starting outside of our team than inside. But don't get me wrong. I understand. I used to be a player. I know the importance of being a starter. You know, it's fun to start. It's fun to be a starter and hear your name called out and you run out and high five like that. But what I'm noticing is with this team, it's much more fun winning games than it is anything else. So as long as we keep winning, guys are embracing their roles.
Are you guys spending some extra time on free throws?
You know, not yet. We spent enough time. I mean, you know, before these last two games, I think we were shooting probably the best free throw percentage we had shot since I'd been here. And it's really hard to spend practice time on free throws. That's one of those things that the guys, now that we have a practice facility, we have access to 8 or 9, 10 baskets that guys can come in anytime and work on foul shots. So we're not spending extra time on it. And I'm trying not to overplay the fact that we missed them. When you win, you have that luxury. But if we get to a point where it gets to be an issue, then I might have to address it in a stronger fashion.
Langston played really good defense on Kyle Anderson.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
something that people did notice. Talk about his kind of defensive prowess and what he's brought.
I thought Langston did a fantastic job, and as a matter of fact, when I was looking at the tape, he never scored on Langston. And I don't think people noticed that because they see 18 points and they figure, oh, Langston was guarding him. When Langston was actually on him, he didn't score one time. Langston he should be a case study in college basketball playing. I mean, you know, there's a song out there called "I Started from the Bottom, Now I'm Here," or that's one of the. I don't know if that's the name of the song, but I just love the fact that he was at the bottom and has worked his way to being. I want to come up with a perfect word. I mean, the things he does are immeasurable because you don't see the tip backs that he gets on rebounds that someone else gets credit for. He gets 2 of those a game and at very critical times. And if there was a way to measure the importance of a basket, that dunk would be worth 6 points, and the 3 he made in the corner would be worth 7. I mean, they were that important. So, you know, just watching him, and it warms my heart as a coach to see a guy who came in to talk to the coaches and do board work with our plays and the offense and defense, analyzing his own game. You know, getting in and getting extra shots and actually working his way into being somebody who is just irreplaceable. It's been fun to watch.
Doing a lot of those immeasurable things and the stuff that don't show up in the box score. He said that he kind of got that from his AAU days because he didn't play very much, and then he was on a loaded AAU team.
Yeah, he was on a really loaded isn't even the question. I mean, it's all these guys you see now. It's Nick Johnson, Aaron Gordon, Kyle Wiltshire. I mean, it was Dominic Artis. I mean, he played very little. But I got a chance to see him when he played, and I also got a chance to see him in high school, and I thought he was every bit as good as those guys. He just didn't have the same opportunity. And it's interesting that he says that he's sort of learned this role by doing that. I think he had it in him beforehand. I mean, I think the way he plays shows a lot of integrity and character and speaks a lot to the person he is underneath the basketball.
Do you think his development at all was hurt by he started so late? 'Cause he said he grew up playing baseball, and he didn't start playing until I think 8th grade.
You know, I think the more sports you play, the better off you are, if and when you decide what's your sport and you're good enough to be elite at it, or at this Division I level. I think playing those different sports will eventually help you. I think people who specialize at an early age and don't get those other things, they don't learn the nuances of any other sport which you carry over to the sport that you're playing. So I think him being a very good baseball player makes him a better basketball player.
So you're okay with a recruit that might be out of season playing another sport, but they're obviously good enough at basketball?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't have any problem with that. If you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough. It doesn't matter what else you're doing. And I would rather my players be playing another sport than, hanging out.
I talked to a high school coach here in town recently. He said another college coach said that sometimes when they do specialize, by the time they get to you guys, they're burnt out.
Well, that is always a possibility, but even more so, I think that individually we all have a finite number of games in us, so that if you specialize and your number is low, you're going to reach the point of your body breaking down before you can get to a level that you want to get to. So I think all that comes into play. I don't know how to gauge it or anything, but I like the fact that a guy has played a little football or baseball and then he comes and plays basketball. He's usually got a pretty good knack for strategy and other intangible parts of the game.
Obviously, you guys are pretty close to getting Carson and Corvallis. Have you been surprised by anything he's been able to do his first couple?
No, not at all. I knew he was good, and it was going to be hard to get him. It was going to be hard to keep him. It was just one of those things. We were, as I tell my staff, we're very good at evaluation. So we were just early, and it was fun while it lasted.
And speaking of evaluation, Coach, could you tell us Hallis's story that a kid comes out here, you've got a lot of interest back east, he said.
Sure.
You were really the only West team that was on him. How did that all come about?
Well, his recruitment is slightly different than the average guy you recruit. Everybody knows about him, and they're if that's the case, it's hard to get them unless you're a program that's good at getting those kind of guys. But I went to see Hallis's AAU team play in Arkansas at a tournament they were in to see another guy on his team. And this happens quite a bit. You go see another guy, and you either get there early or you're watching some other team warm up, and there's usually 3 or 4 courts. So you're looking around seeing who's everybody's looking at and who's the good player. And so I got there early just to see who else was there. But on his team was Hallis. And I saw this kid with all this energy going through the layup line, and he was relatively athletic, and he was long and lanky, skinny. And I thought, man, that kid could be a point guard. And so I texted my guys and said, hey, take a look see who whatever his number is. And watch the other kid play. The other kid wasn't bad, but we sort of started sniffing around on Hallis, and then just saw him play again, and then someone else went and saw him play, and then the next thing you know, I'm kind of liking what I saw. And then what sold me was at the end of the summer, when everybody's dragging, and I mean everybody, the coaches don't want to watch another game, the players don't want to play another game, he's playing in an all-star game in Philadelphia. So he's gone from Arkansas to somewhere else, maybe back home, and now he's in Philadelphia. And I go to watch him play, and you would have thought it was the first event of the year. He was so excited and bouncing around, and everybody was sort of just like, ho, ho, hum, ho, hum. And that was what I liked, the fact that he loved playing so much. And then I went to see him at St. Anthony's, and we started recruiting him. And then it comes down to building a relationship, because you're right, just like Devon, he had a lot of East Coast interest. And I think having Devon out here and be successful helped us with Hallis. I will also tell you that Kyle Anderson coming out to UCLA helped us with Hallis. I mean, they're very good friends. Very good friends. I was recruiting Hallis, and I feel like I know Kyle. You know what I mean? They're that close. So I think all of that helped us, because it gave Hallis a comfort level with the West Coast. And he came out and visited, liked it. His parents came out with him. They liked it, and they trusted us. And next thing you know, the kid drops 20 on UCLA.
Did you have a battle for him after a while once you started showing interest?
Other interests came, but the good thing about being in early is that you develop a relationship with the kid. Now, if Kentucky had come in, would he be at Oregon State? I doubt it. You know what I mean? If the right program comes in, it's hard. We recruited the kid who's now McDonald's All-American and going to Kentucky before anybody else did. And Kentucky started recruiting him. He's going to Kentucky. I understand that. We understand that. So but if it's just other schools, then you have a shot because you develop a relationship. But there's those programs that every kid wants to go to: Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina. I think UCLA and Arizona are in our league are two schools like that. Stanford. Certain schools that. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship you have. Someone in your entourage, your parents or a coach, is going to tell you, you should go over there. That's a better situation. We get that.
And you say that next thing you know, he drops 20 on UCLA. That sense, he looks like he belongs. Hallis right now just is playing
Right.
with a certain degree of, I'm good enough to be here. Has any part of that and kind of the quick growth surprised you?
Oh, yeah. No, yes. I hope I'm not making it sound like I knew he was going to drop 20 on UCLA this year. Not at all. As a matter of fact, we figured that this would be a year where he sort of gets acclimated to playing college basketball. And all of you have seen how slight he is. I was sure that he was going to get banged around and physically not be able to handle it. No, he outworks most folks. And he did it this summer. He was in the gym every day. He's here. I come in at 8 o'clock this morning. Who's in the gym shooting around already? Hallis. Then he goes to class. Then he comes back to the gym and he, calls his parents and does some stuff in the office. And then he goes back in the gym. And Angus comes in and they're both in there. And so, he's out working his situation. He's making the most of it. He does what I always say. This is going to be all of this is short, so you got to grab it and suck the life out of it. And he's taken that literally.
So, beyond whatever unfolds this year for your team, the sense of a guy like that, who sets that kind of example going forward, pretty exciting prospect.
Oh, it's very exciting because it is contagious. Yesterday we had the day off, and we had to have the day off because we played on Sunday, and you have to give your players off at least one day a week. There were at least, and I was on the road recruiting, but I got from my assistants, there were at least 6 or 7 guys in the gym yesterday getting a workout in. And there were another 6 or 7 guys who went to the weight room, I heard. So that's one of those things, one of those unintended benefits of a guy having some success based on how much work he puts in. And I think that's true for our entire freshman class. Our freshman and sophomore class are setting a tone for the future here.
Is it fair to say that the team's confidence right now is kind of at an all-time high?
An all-time high, I would say the last time we were this confident was when my first or second year here, when we were playing in the CBI and started winning right at the end. We were playing with so much confidence. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to do any motivating. I told them what we were supposed to do, and these guys, they just went out and won games. So we're getting close to that. We're getting close to that. I certainly think this in the just the circle of the last 2 or 3 years, easily as confident as we've been, and rightly so. Not any kind of sort of made up confidence to help soothe the ego or anything like that. I mean, they really feel like the amount of work they're putting in directly correlates to how well they play.
What do you feel like are kind of the keys to build off that UCLA win? If you could put in turnovers?
Yeah, no, here's what we'll be talking about in film today is we had that game up to 11 points, and we couldn't stand the fact that we were up 11. We just got nervous and we made some mistakes. So it was a combination of missed foul shots and then turning the ball over in situations where we would never have turned the ball over. As a matter of fact, I would say that I wouldn't call it panic. I would just call it that we were a little too laissez-faire at the end of the game. And you have to understand, when you're playing good teams, they do what we do when they get behind. They foul, and then they try and make you turn the ball over, and they try and get it down to a one-possession game, and next thing you know, you lose. I mean, we had just done it in the last game. So we'll talk about that kind of execution specifically at the end of games. But even if we made those mistakes, if we had made our foul shots, we still would have won by 11. So it's just one of those. So we need to shore that up. We also need to shore up our points in the game where teams get runs on us. That's going to happen. You have to know how to come back to your bread and butter. When a team makes a run, you come back and you run your best play that you know works 80% of the time, and you try and get a good shot. Those are a couple of things. Then the other thing is we can always get better at playing defense. And it's just, let's do it for 40 minutes. Let's do it for 40 minutes. And so those are 3 things that I think we can build on from this UCLA USC weekend.
You talked a little bit about it on Sunday, but just how huge is it to get that win when, Roberto kind of struggles offensively the way he did, and to show that this team isn't solely dependent on, Roberto offensively?
Yeah. And I would word it that way, because I don't think he struggled. I think he chose to be the decoy, because I thought he played a great floor game. And once he realized, once I and the staff realized that the key was they were keying on him. He flinched. The whole other, guys on the bench were like ready to guard him. And we were able to let him know, hey, look, you're going to have to help everybody else until your time comes. I thought that was such a mature part for him to play. And then it gets back again. And then he looked for a way where he could be effective some other way, and it was by not letting Jordan Adams score. And he was on Jordan Adams for the majority of the time that he was out there. So I feel like, as I said earlier, we haven't had a game where Roberto's had a good game. Angus, Hallis, Devon, Eric, Chalet, all have had great games. We haven't had one of those yet. And so we're still striving for that kind of perfection.
Your guys' game plan seems a lot to be pound the ball inside, but with the shot blocker that ASU has, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Paczynski.
At all?
No, doesn't. Got to go. Got to be able to play against 7-footers too. It's like playing USC. But these guys, I think, they're going to start a 7'2" kid and a 6'10" kid, so it's going to be a little tougher. But it's what we do. It's what we're doing. I have all the confidence in Angus He's 6'10" himself, so they also have to stop him. So our game plan won't change at all.
How do you think Brandon Ashley's injury affects?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. And I don't think you will they won't realize it until later when you look back and see how it affects the team. I mean, when Angus went down, we thought we could fight through it, but it had a huge emotional impact on our team. So I'd be surprised if it didn't have an emotional impact on that team. But you never know. I mean, not every team's the same. I have to say if it was me, I'd be relieved with the undefeated thing out of the way, and maybe they can sort of use that as a regrouping point. But there's a lot of pressure out there to be good without one of your best players.
Speaking of the undefeated, and without overlooking ASU, and I know it's out of your control, but is there a sense inherently, a little bit of disappointment not being able to go in there, play that undefeated #1 ranked team?
I will tell you, if you ask that guy who just walked by, he's going to be disappointed. I'm not. I'm solely focused on ASU, and then once that game's over, then I'll start to think about the Wildcats. I just can't afford to be caught up in that kind of stuff. We have to kind of chip away at what we're doing. Our old saying a couple of years ago, one day at a time. That's what we're doing.
Coach, in terms of that and defense, you held UCLA to 38 points.
Right.
67 points.
Right.
And you did it mostly man, but some 1-3-1.
Yep.
It just seems like you're using different things and approaches like Herb at ASU used to just only play that matchup zone, but now they've kind of evolved. Tell me a little bit about what you have to do, in your opinion, defensively.
Yeah. This weekend, you mean?
Yeah, and
Or just in general? I think I've never been one to sort of lay out these are, we're going to do this 15 times, we're going to do this 8 times, we're going to do this. You start out with what you think you can do the best, and then you see if it can work for the whole game. Like at the Stanford game, it worked the whole game, so you stick with it. I thought that UCLA, we helped UCLA with a couple of bad shots and a couple of turnovers to get out to an 11-point lead. So we needed something to sort of change the environment, and we went to the 1-3-1, and it worked for us. I mean, we cut that lead down, we got a couple of turnovers and got it back to 4, which then is like a regular game, so you don't have to panic any longer. And we did it, and since it worked in the first half, we did it again in the second half, and it worked for us and helped us build out a little bit of a lead. It's just feel. It's matchups, it's how the guys are playing. There is certainly a different way of playing on Thursday than it is when you have to play on a Saturday. Which means there's a different way you have to play if you have 2 days of rest on a Sunday. So I just sort of start with our overall plan and then kind of tailor it based on what I see going on in the game.
The man seems to keep getting better.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely. But that's what we work on the most, so it should get better faster than everything else. But it's been that has been just sort of a program change. I mean, we knew we wanted to eventually play man-to-man. We knew we were going to have the athletes to do it, and it was just a matter of time. And last year we committed to it, and this year I think with the addition of Freddie Owens, who is just a terrific communicator and comes from a program where they play good, solid defense, you'd be surprised how much that little change is help guys buy into what we're doing. And then again, I've said this before, the more you do it, the better you get at it, as long as you stick with it. And we're good at sticking with stuff that we believe in, and the guys have shown they've gotten really very good at guarding now. We just have to do it for 40 minutes.
The last few games, more minutes have gone to your starters, and your rotation of 7 or 8 deep has gotten most of the time. And is that just something we're going to see more of, or just the way it worked out?
It's just the way it worked out, the way the games went. I think we have good depth. and I'd like to use it a little bit more. You know, I'd love to get Shea Njai into some of those games, but Daniel Gomez was playing so well, he didn't get into foul trouble, and then Angus is playing so well, it's just hard to make a change there. And then I thought that the three guys we put on Anderson, Langston, Jarmal, and Vic wore him down, so that by the time the end of the game, those shots that he was making at the beginning of the game were a little bit harder. But when we have a Thursday, Sunday, or Wednesday, Saturday where you get 2 days, you get an extra day, I think you can shorten it up if you have to. And so it's really, I could see us getting toward the end of the season and playing more guys, actually. I don't know, or I could play less guys. We're just trying to win games, you know, not trying to make a point.
Shorten it up, like you mentioned, with that extra day. Was that especially true on Sunday with a really good team like UCLA?
Well, here's this TV sort of dictates everything, but I'll give you an example. Our first weekend in the conference, we played the late game Thursday night, and then the early game on Saturday at altitude. That affected us. I know it did. You still got to play the game. The other team's got to go through the same thing. This time we played Thursday and then didn't play until Sunday, and we played a really good team. But then, you know, I believe they played Thursday and Sunday too. I think they try and keep the days even so that one team doesn't have an extra day. So you're both in the same position, but having that extra day is better than not having that extra day. I don't care how you look at it. Whether you're on the road or at home, having an extra day is an extra day when you're playing these conference games, because these conference games are tough. They're going to be hard played. And the turnaround time for doing the scout is hard when it's just one day.